Hey, hello, welcome. Where am I? I'm on this camera. I'm in a different position today. Good morning, and welcome to Foster's Animal World TV again. And thank you so much for tuning in. Today we got a very interesting show. You guys know. Hey, good morning, Paula.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good.
So, how's the weather in Alabama, Arkansas?
You never know where I am.
I'm telling you, where you at?
Alabama.
That's what I said. I knew that. In Alabama. So how's the weather in Alabama this morning?
Muggy.
Muggy?
And hot.
Oh, well, that's okay. Well, that's kind of the way it is here in L.A., except for with a little fog to go on top of it. So, so you got dogs today?
You bet.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. So, I'm going to try to adjust this camera in a minute because could we put it over here, Rock?
No.
That way I could kind of act like I'm looking at Paula at the same time because I'm getting whiplash here. Hey, but listen, you guys know how we've, over the past couple of years, we've been, adamant about helping people around the world from, Nepal to Canada to New York to Hong Kong to Hawaii, wherever there's problems in the animal world, and particularly with dogs and stuff, that's what we're about. And we try to address these issues and different things, right? Well, it has come to my attention that right here in good old home, and you know what, I used to say that one of my main things, and my mother used to say, is don't go out trying to tell somebody about how dirty their house is until you clean up your own, And so I've discovered that there's a major problem right here in Los Angeles, right here at home with our animal services. Now, I knew just on the outset that there was a problem just because nothing has changed since I've been here, and I hadn't been paying that much attention to it, in the animal community as far as, they're still killing as many dogs. And so now it has come to my attention that not only has the system been broken, but it's at a stalemate and there's room for change, and that there's an organization of people who have actually been trying to bring about change. And so we, begged and borrowed and stole and lied to them and told them we had money to get them in the studio today. So today we have with us Paul, and I probably pronounced, is it Darrigo?
Darrigo, yeah.
Darrigo and Michael Bell. And these guys are like two wonderful people. Now, the one thing that works for us is that really works in with our show theme, Paula, is, and you haven't met these guys, have you, Paula?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, welcome, gentlemen. This is Paula Archer in Alabama. She is the left and right arm behind this show. I couldn't do nothing without her. So, but Paula, both of these gentlemen are in the entertainment business.
Amazing.
I know it, huh?
Anybody would hire us. That was amazing.
That's right. So I'm not even going to try to run down their resumes and stuff. I'm going to let them tell each other, and Paul's going to have to go in probably about a half hour, 45 minutes, because he is one of the few people working in the entertainment business today. But but Mike can be with us. Michael can be with us for a while. So I want them to run down their resumes so I don't blow it, and then we'll get into the issues. So go ahead, Paul.
Well, currently I work at Disney. I do IT for the ABC building on Riverside Drive, as well as being an actor.
Okay.
I have several different gigs, of course, as you know.
That's right.
Auditioning all the time.
That's right.
And you do the gig when you get it. So that's been really cool.
Okay.
Someone said you were a stripper. Is that true?
Only on Santa Monica Boulevard. After midnight.
That's
one of my. You have to air me out on that one. I told you not to say that.
That's
lose credibility.
Yeah, that's what is that new that's Magic Mike extra.
Mike. I've been working on my six-pack.
Yeah,
I'm
getting there.
Yeah, you got 2-pack right at the moment.
Exactly.
Okay, and I have a long history of on-camera acting, as a guest starring on a number of episodes, MASH, and all those things years ago, and also about 40 years of voiceover. All those great old cartoons, Super Friends,
And he talks to himself all the time, so he does well. He casts himself.
Well, that's gonna be
Transformers, G.I. Joe. And I directed for the three seasons of the LeBron James show.
Oh, is that right?
The LeBrons, yeah.
The LeBron James show. There's actually a LeBron show on?
It's a webisode called The LeBrons, and it's
Really?
an animated series, kind of like it's about his life as a kid, and I directed that. Yeah.
Really? Oh man, so that won't have this year's championship in it.
No, I doubt it very
Oh,
seriously.
okay. I was just because it was. And so what we're gonna do, Paula, before we start this whole thing, Rock, let's just take a commercial so we won't have to break up what we're about to get into. So we're gonna come back and talk about LA Animal Services. These guys have a couple of things going on. One is, and correct me and jump in there if I'm wrong, protest LA Animal Services and
the mayor.
And the Mayor Garcetti. One is protest LA Animal Services and
That's Dallas.
okay, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're talking about the change in the LA Animal Services, and you guys know your phone number here is 323-965. 1600 323-965-1600. So the phone lines will be open if anybody is up and they care to call in. And we'll be right back after word from our only sponsor.
Are you a diabetic? Need some energy? Need to quench your thirst? Try Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink, the only energy drink named suitable for diabetics by the American Diabetic Association. And it's now available with no calories, no carbs, no sugar, and no fat, and a smooth, natural blend of energy, vitamins, and minerals. Need to quench your thirst? Try Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink, the only energy drink named suitable for diabetics by the American Diabetic Association. And it's now available with no calories, no carbs, no sugar, and no fat, and a smooth, natural blend of energy, vitamins, and minerals. Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink is the healthiest, best-tasting energy drink around. For more information and online ordering with free shipping, please visit hiphopbev.com. Remember, Pitbull Sugar-Free Energy Drink, suitable for diabetics, great for everyone.
Oh. All right. So, and that is Pitbull Energy Drink. Oops. All right. Cool. Oh, there we go. Does it matter which one? Oh, it does. Oh, it don't have to be. All right.
Don't touch it.
Rock is, yes, Rock is telling me that I got.
Don't touch it.
He can hear me. You guys can hear me. So, Paula,
Yes.
did you know anything about the fact that we had such a problem here in Los Angeles? Huh? You thought,
no,
you thought
I had
everything
no
was cool right here, didn't you? Huh?
I had no clue. None at all.
Well, you're
no,
gonna
I'm
find
kidding.
you're gonna find out the deal today because it is from what I've been listening to before we start the show. It is horrible. So let's just actually get into it. So gentlemen, tell us what's the problem? This is L.A., man. We can't have a problem with our.
This is the city of angels.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Not for animals. Not for animals.
Not for animals.
No.
So presently, what's the problem with LA Animal Services in a nutshell, Paul?
Well, I don't think the shelter it works at all compared to what it could work as. We know that there's one officer on at night to handle 500 square miles. We know that when you call in for service, they take anywhere from 4 to never showing. We know that the clarification rate on cases, if there is 8 months or so, it's up to a year. Some of these cases are not even being called.
When Paul says that, he means if, let's say there's a situation where there's an issue with an animal, and then there's a hearing, and if you own the animal, and then they have a hearing, the hearing may take 6 to 8 months. Well, that animal can remain in the shelter all during that period of time. You're waiting to get your animal out because you go, wait a minute, somebody wandered on my property and my dog bit that person who wandered on my property.
Right.
He was doing his job. Okay, yeah, well, I'm sorry, but the bottom line is that he bit this person, so we have to hold him until we have a hearing with the officers. Well, that can be 6 to 8 months sitting in the shelter while you go, wait a minute, my dog's going to die in the shelter, because you know what
That's
shelters are
crazy.
like.
Yeah, right.
And that's just one infinitesimal
But
way
here-
that doesn't work.
The system.
Exactly. But here's the thing: why do we have to come out and say, like, they weren't even walking these evidence dogs, like dogs involved in cases? They wouldn't even walk them. They wouldn't let the volunteers take them out.
Wow.
So they would stay in their cages. And why do we have to talk about that for the rationale of that? Why do we have to even bring that up? Because the people
at the
in the
top.
management structure right now do not know how to run that shelter successfully or better than it is now.
Right.
And I hold a high standard
Right.
to a successful shelter. Right? When you go into our shelters, I don't want to go to my own shelter and go adopt.
Right.
I don't feel welcome there. I don't feel like people really want to encourage me. I don't feel they want to help me retain my pet.
Right.
You know, it's just get in, take a number, walk in the back.
Right. I mean, but that's major, though. I mean, the fact that the people running it, and this is mind-boggling. Paula, I know that you find it hard to, because we deal with shelters all around the country, Paula particularly, every day, you know. So to hear this about a major metropolitan operation, Paula, that your dog can go there and waiting on trial and nobody won't even walk it, that means that the dog sits in the cage for 8 months. Is that barbaric or what?
If it was my dog, it would piss me off. But
Right,
you know.
that's a lawsuit in itself.
Well, one woman who I spoke to, by the way, that situation had occurred, and she said, if you're going to take, when the officer showed up, she said, if you're going to take my dog in, then you're going to go with me not to the shelter. You're going to go with me to a vet where I'm going to have my dog put down. Because I am not going to put my dog through that horror. I would rather my dog be gone.
Wow.
And he said, well, okay, wait a minute. You know, he didn't want to get into that because that's really an ugly PR situation. So he said, okay, so they made arrangements for the dog to stay at her house, but she can't take it outside or walk it.
Outside the property.
Outside the property. You have to stay on the
okay.
property. And I said, well, when was your hearing? Because this occurred in April. She said, the hearing is in December. I said, can you imagine all these hearings that are taking place with barking dogs or biting dogs or whatever the situation may be? Bottom line is, it doesn't work. And that's just one thing that doesn't work. There are so many elements that don't work. It's so broken down.
Yeah.
And we have a general manager that doesn't address it. And when we have brought all these situations to the mayor, and we have a number of them, obviously, which we'll discuss here, remember Eveline from The Wiz who said, "Don't bring me no bad news."
Right.
He don't want to hear no bad news.
He don't want to hear no bad.
I don't want to hear that.
Everything is rosy.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's
We're
all
all going to
good.
go to the seashore. And so we are having this protest June 28th in front of his house.
June 28th here in Los Angeles, in front of Mayor Garcetti's house.
That's right.
What address is that? Where do people?
605 South Irving
Boulevard.
Windsor Square.
Okay, so what time would people show up?
From 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, just 2 hours. Stand up for 2 hours for your pet or for the animals of the city of Los Angeles.
And so that's a Sunday?
That's a Sunday.
That's a perfect day for me because it just so happens. I was talking to Paula. I was like, oh my God, I just got booked on a job on Saturday. You know, the protest. She said, no, it's on Sunday. So that's perfect because our show will be out there and we'll have cameras and we're going to record the whole thing. So if you're in like Alabama or New York or
come on down.
someplace
Come on
like
down.
that,
Come on down from Alabama.
and you
Sure.
can't make it, then, we'll be recording it for you guys and show you next week, all about it. Also, Paula, just for you, I'll FaceTime you in, okay? So you'll be able to be out there live and see what's going on,
Now, I want to tell you something. I want to explain something to you. This poor department affects, for the most part, certain areas of the city of Los Angeles. Because the department is so poor, it affects South Central, North Central, Sunland, East Valley. Because those areas, unfortunately, suffer the most with health and safety issues, with, they said something like 20,000, 30,000 dogs roaming the streets as a result.
Right.
And that's a health issue. That's a safety issue. Besides the fact that we love the animals and we don't want to see them live and die in the streets, it's a health issue. And they don't address it. This general manager is not addressing that health issue. She's not addressing the fact that people are not aware that they can have their animals spay and neutered, and the city helps them pay for it.
Wait a minute. So how long is this person, and who is this general manager?
So her name is Brenda Barnett,
Brenda Barnett.
and she's been in since 2010.
Since 2010?
Yes.
And,
5 wasted years.
yeah. Then,
It is
wait a
5
minute.
wasted years. Yeah.
And where did she come from?
She came from I think
Seattle,
Seattle.
Maine.
Yeah, Seattle.
Seattle?
Which was a little
They did like 6,000 animals a year, I think.
6,000 a
6,700
year.
animals,
You know,
yeah.
it was
Right.
nothing.
Well, maybe the problem is that we don't have any money in LA. Do
Oh,
they
wait
have a
minute.
budget
Wait. She gets $220,000 a year. I
to
think that's,
run the whole? Wait a minute.
That's pretty good.
That's the whole budget for the animal
Oh,
services?
no. 48 million is the full budget.
Wait a minute. She's making 200,000?
220,000. She just got a raise. The mayor just
220,000?
gave her a raise. She failed up. The mayor said-
220,000
Yeah, the
not
mayor
to
said-
do the good job.
Yeah, the mayor said, wait a minute, there's less adoptions and more
Your metrics
euthanasia?
look good.
Well, that's really good. You're killing more animals and there's less being adopted out? I love it. I'm going to give you a raise.
Whoa. Wait a minute. And you said another number. Paula,
48 million.
my headphones must be bad because I thought he said $48 million
That's
going
the
into
budget.
That's the fully burdened budget. The operating budget's 20 million. The fully burdened budget with all the ancillary costs is 48 million. So the business cost to have these shelters is 48 million a year, and they're trying to bring on some more staff. So naturally, the pension costs and everything's going to go up.
Wait a minute, because I remember last year they had this thing about they needed to bring on more animal control officers.
Yes.
Yeah.
After it was some event, now that's crazy. Paula, I mean, as many times on this show as we've begged, I mean, we've worked miracles with no budget. Do you know, guys, just for example, because when you say $40 million, that's
48.
that's totally mind-boggling to us because on this little bitty show that has absolutely no budget, we've been, because of that lady right there, I don't take a lot of credit. I just come here and try to keep the thing going. We've been averaging 12 dogs a week getting adopted.
Wow.
That's
12.
great.
That's not. That's
great.
insane
Amazing.
number. It's an insane number. And Paula does it across country. I mean, I hate saying we because the we it's a small E and a big W, because it's all of her. But we were averaging probably 2 dogs a week getting adopted, because we do, and which you guys will see in a second, Paula talks about the dogs, we bring on pictures, we try to give them some personalities, we work with the different people around the country who have dogs in emergency situations with no money, absolutely not a dime, right? And then, so when you say $40 million, $48 million, that's like mind fucking boggling. I mean, and then when we know how many dogs are getting killed every day in LA, as you said, this lady got a raise because more dogs are being euthanized.
I joke about that. I mean, that's
right. But I'm
that's-
just
yeah.
saying that it should be the other way around. It's supposed to be, because I mean, when you guys said that you would bless us and come in here, and I heard about the situation, I thought about a new campaign slogan that would. Because it's about getting the people involved, getting the communities involved.
That's right.
The average citizen out here knows jack shit about LA Animal Services and doesn't care. But what about a campaign, Paula, called Don't Dog LA?
Don't talk.
Right? Don't Dog LA, because it speaks to the problem, and it's kind of something that the youth could get into. It would be nice posters. It would be nice, Don't Dog LA. And whatever it is that, they say Don't Dog LA, then don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. And people, but I didn't know $48 million.
You see, the thing about it is, it's not just throwing money at it, because if she has established a pet education outreach program,
Right.
then people would understand that they can have their dogs and why they need to have their dogs spay and neutered, why
Right.
it's important for the dog's health as well as their own health. But she hasn't done that. She has not established it in 5 years. She hasn't established a pet education outreach program, so people don't even know that there are spay and neuter vouchers available for the low income. It's
That's
available
the whole
for
point
them.
of the program, was to support people who couldn't afford it,
Right.
and getting into those neighborhoods. Right?
Really?
And it's not just a demographic per se, it's an income demographic, right?
Right.
that doesn't work. It doesn't work when you. If you look at any of the programs, I don't even know of any programs she's really put on.
No,
Departments any
I'll
really
tell
put
you
on.
what's interesting. She said, I'm going to see if we can save the city some money. Okay, what do you plan to do? Well, let's close the shelters at night. We won't have any personnel at night. Well, what happens if you find a dog, an injured cat, an injured animal, and you bring it to the shelter? There's no one there to take it in. Well, they can tie it up there at the shelter. And then when the personnel come in the morning,
not a grown person, not a.
So they said, or I said, so what? Or she said they can take it to a vet. Well, now wait a minute. You know what an emergency vet costs?
Right.
If you bring your own animal in on an emergency vet, you're talking $1,000. You can't walk out the door without $1,000 bill.
Wait a minute. This person is in control. Is actually.
Yes.
That's the
Then-
difference in thinking, right? Instead of thinking like, I have a shortage, how do I manage the shortage? She cuts it off and says, this is what I'm going to do to manage the shortage. I'm going to take the stuff away from you guys.
She just pulled the personnel from Harbor. The people at Harbor are furious. She said, well, now they can go down. They'll be in downtown, North Central, South Central. So they don't have any ACOs at Harbor. Well, why? Well, because we want to save money because we don't have enough personnel.
We don't have enough personnel.
But he came up with a concept. I mean, the concept exists. The Reserved Animal Control Officer Program,
Right.
RACO.
This is 5 years ago.
It works, and it works. You can get people that will train. He raised $30,000 to train people. She did everything she can to kill
Quash it.
Everything.
We had
to
11.
quash it.
This is to me an amazing story. When I was working with Kathy Davis, I've been around for about 12 years volunteering for the shelter, and I saw the same stories pop up. I got a great idea. Let's have a meeting. And then it goes away. And finally I said to this general manager, Kathy, do we have a reserve program? I pulled over to help a dog that got hit by a car.
Right.
These two CHP guys are standing there. They don't know what to do. And then I come up and they said, well, we're waiting for animal control. And I laughed. I said, they'll never get here. So I think, wow, isn't it? I used to be a special police officer when I was a kid. I said, don't you guys have a reserve program? And they said, yeah, we do. We just don't use it. I was like, why not? She goes, I don't know. I guess we never really had the money, never thought about it. I said, okay, well, what would it take to get the program going again? And then we talked about it. It was $1,500. So $1,500 to train each officer who's committed to 1 year of service, 18 hours a month. Just like LAPD, they have
Right.
almost 400 reserve police officers.
Right.
The value that they get, one, they get a whole new career training, they contribute to the community, and all we have to do is give them $1,500, right, or pay the $1,500 to train them. Okay?
Right.
You could take people from any culture, anywhere in this city. They're contributing back. They know their neighborhoods, right?
Right.
They love their neighborhoods and they want to make a difference. But within that first year of that conversation, we had 11 new officers graduate that program since 1985. After
Since
a year,
1985.
after a year, when Brenda came on board, they're all gone. Within the year. Actually, we think it was 6 months.
Within 6 months, they
They
were
were
gone.
And
She-
the
'cause
stories
she-
came up. There was multiple stories that came up why. First, it was a federal labor law violation because they were animal care technicians working in the shelter, and somebody threw the flag and said, "Hey, you can't do that because it's a federal labor law conflict." Well, you called an
It
attorney.
wasn't. I called an attorney. I checked with the federal feds, and they said, there's no labor law. They certainly can become ACOs eventually if they just...
As long as it's not the same position in the same department,
Right.
you can do it.
So that was a lie, and she tried to cover up that lie several different ways. And then we tried other attempts to find out just exactly what happened. So finally, I called some of the officers, the RACO officers, who still work at the department in
Right.
another division, and they said she never scheduled us. We never had anything to do. We never fulfilled the obligation of the job that we were trained for. So what was the purpose of doing it? So we resigned.
They spent 4 months of their volunteer time in class, and I felt so bad for these people. And I went to, gosh, I think now it's almost 100 neighborhood council meetings. But I had gotten 26 neighborhood councils to contribute because when I told them the story, I said, here's where we're at, LA. All of a sudden, they couldn't believe there was one officer
Well,
on at night.
wait a second. Back up for a second.
Yeah.
But so this is not hearsay. This is not just something that you guys are jumping up. You said you went to how many neighborhood meetings?
Almost 100 neighborhood council meetings.
100.
Yeah.
Paula, are you hearing this? Is this unbelievable?
Do you want me to start out with, I have something to say?
Yeah. Right. I mean, this is. Go ahead, Paula. I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that the
Yeah.
facts get out
Yeah,
about
please.
our efforts. But you see, from the last 4 years of my volunteer work has been to get those racos back on and to start the program again. 4 years of volunteer time to try to get it going again. Why am I fighting so hard? Do you get service when you call the shelter?
I'm afraid. I evidently not. I mean, I haven't been, had to call them. It's unbelievable. Wait a minute. So
you can make up any story you want about me, and there's plenty
I'm
about
sure
who I am.
If you do anything in life, there's going to be
There'll be a
stories.
story.
Do you know what my mom used to say?
What?
A man who doesn't have garbage
Right.
isn't eating.
Exactly.
So I said, Mom, I got a lot of garbage. She said, honey, you're eating. Don't worry about it.
That's right. I mean, one thing that you guys said that I wanted to go back to is you said that there's no shelters open at night, and there's nobody.
We fought that. We fought that.
That was
Yeah.
that
Oh,
was
that we
quashed.
fought. We
Yeah,
said,
that
wait a
was-
minute. We said, you can't do that. So, of course, she had to back off of that because the humane community came out full force and said, wait a minute, you that's a plan? That's your plan?
Right.
And she said, well, we want to say, forget it. That's not going to happen. And, of course, the city council realized what she was doing, and they said, no, we have to keep it open, obviously.
So
But there is one officer.
one officer. So
500 square miles.
500 miles. So if there's an accident and you go to the hospital in ambulance and they take you away and your dog is in the back seat.
But what takes preference? In other words, when they get the calls, they say, there's a dog on the freeway. There's a dog in the backseat of someone's house. There's a dog who's lying by a dead body in a certain area. We need someone to come pick up that dog. There's a deer impaled on a fence, and it needs to be relieved of it. It needs to be put out, whatever. One officer has to cherry pick and say, what do I want to do?
Is that right?
Well, they go by priority too. If it's a certain kind of case, and they have to choose which one they can go to. The higher priority cases, which would be more violent, more.
So one officer. So if there's an incident in Malibu.
Well, that's not L.A.
That's not LA. But let's,
But, okay,
okay,
yeah,
but-
but someplace far, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In someplace, 45, 50 miles away.
Yeah.
It's one officer that's got to go there, finish that up before he can go to this other incident.
Right. Well, you see, one officer will respond within a 500 square mile area. And that's the city
at
of Los
night.
Angeles.
This is only at night,
That's
yeah.
only at night.
Late at night.
So we have one officer, we have someone on the phone, and we have one officer that goes out into the field. That's pretty much it. End of story.
With $48 million.
Yes.
You like that
I do
number.
like that number, dear.
It's
like
like
that
I'm
number.
just trying to understand where's the money going.
Well, it's because you and I do production. When
Yeah.
we shoot a film,
Right.
you're given a budget.
Yeah.
Right? And you say, okay, this is what we got to get done. And then you just
Exactly.
go,
We gotta get
how am I
done.
going to get the location? When I shot a pilot
Yeah.
called the FBI Guys.
Yeah.
I can't believe where I got locations from. I shot at the Long Beach docks for free. I shot at the FBI building twice
Right.
for free. It was so funny. I was sitting at a Mel's, and I had 2 weeks to shoot, and I still didn't have an office scene with a server room and all this crazy demand, right? And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, how am I going to figure this out? So I just stand up. I say, does anybody know anybody who has an office I can shoot at? And some girl raises her hand. She goes, oh, I got a friend in Woodland Hills who owns a company.
Right.
I shot 3 days there for nothing.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying
if
is,
you have $48 million,
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you spend $10,000 here, there's enough goodwill built into that $10,000 that they will give you $40,000 worth of services. That's how. I mean, especially when you're talking about the animals, man. I mean, in Los Angeles,
Right.
you guys, I know, just just when you start opening your phone book up, you got a slew of people that if somebody cared at the top and was looking to make something like you did with the volunteers and the reserves.
It was one of the many things that needed work, and I
Right.
focused my energy on that. And one of the neighborhood councils told me when I first started to bring this out, how does anything start? You speak it.
Right.
And I started to speak it with people, and people started to give me ideas. And I went to my neighborhood council, and I talked to a woman there, and she said, Paul, this is a great idea. You need to go around to the other neighborhood councils and tell them, because this is a great community project.
Right.
And I said, wow, that's brilliant. And that started the whole thing.
That started-
And I could have raised a lot more money.
Oh, but
Yeah.
she told you to stop.
She told me to stop raising money.
She said, stop raising the money. We're not going to use it. Shut up. Shut up, Paul.
Whoa.
You're
She tried to
impossible.
fire me as a volunteer.
She tried to fire him, and she spread stuff about him, and we're going, wait a minute, I know this guy. You know, he's a Jersey guy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but,
that's
and
for
I'm
sure.
a lot worse than he is. I'm Brooklyn. I'm a lot worse than he is. But
We drive into Brooklyn and start crap with these guys.
She went after him, and I went, wait a minute, he's doing a great job here. He's going to help this department. He's going to give you the officers that you are asking the city for, that you want them to pay for, to get them. And she wasn't interested. So I asked one of her people, one of her supervisors. I said, what has she got against the RACO program? And she said, well, we know for a fact she doesn't like mandated legislation.
Yeah.
She doesn't want it to be. She doesn't want it.
That's a problem.
She doesn't like enforcement.
That's a problem.
She doesn't like enforcement. End of story.
So that's part of what I'm going back to, the bigger picture. This is not about one person.
Right.
This is about the design of the shelter system. Now, if we are committed to our city,
Yeah.
we know that we have to enforce our laws. But you don't do it militarily. You go into a community and you communicate to them
Right.
how to better manage the relationship with their animals. When people in certain areas let their dogs loose, because that's just how it is in our country.
Exactly.
I have personally chased dogs that got hit right in front of me.
Right.
And it was a beautiful little dog. Brought him to the vet. He got a fractured skull, broken hip, broken leg. We had to put it down. When you actually are on the street seeing this, you have boots on the ground experience compared to the on high look down.
Right.
And that's what we get.
And
We
they-
need boots on the ground understanding of
Right.
our community.
Exactly.
Right.
And they don't pay any attention. I mean, and so obviously, you know, this woman Brenda, you guys have sat in meetings with her and tried to educate, tried to get her to understand. So am I getting it right to feel like she just doesn't care about the people on, you know, in the ground? Because the one thing that we've said around here, Paula, and you can, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, is the reason that I got into this is I saw the huge organizations like Humane Society and ASPCA, and you know, they get $19 a month from 20 million people, and then the money is not even hitting the street. You know, I mean, I see the little mom and pop rescues, people who are going to the shelters and pulling dogs out and spending their own money and getting them back healthy, and then giving the dogs away, you know. And I see the balance is kind of screwed up here.
Let me give you another understanding about what I mean about a world-class shelter system.
Sure.
We have a software in our shelter called Chameleon, and that software has modules, functionalities. If you see an animal at the shelter and you want to adopt it, but it's not available yet, there's something called an IP, or an interested party, that you can put a tag on that animal. The design of that was that when that animal becomes available, bammo, you got somebody interested right away. You don't have to, the animal doesn't have to stay there for 3 months. What they were supposed to do, and this is when I started as a volunteer at North Central, they were supposed to call those people and say, hey, Fluffy's available, come and get him.
Right.
Well, recently I had done the same thing because I wanted to test it. I wanted to see how they were doing with it. So I called in the shelter. I said, there's a tag number. It's a white little dog. I said, I'm interested in that dog. Can you put an IP on it? She said, sure. I said, you're going to call me, right? And she goes, probably not. I said, well, wait. What do you mean probably not? Well, the IPs are a courtesy. We may call you, we may not. And I said, but that's the whole idea of the IP, is that you're supposed to call people. And she says, well, let me check on it. So she called me back and goes, no, we can't promise to call. And I said, well, why? They said, well, we just sometimes don't have the manpower to make the calls. I said, you have Chameleon software. Chameleon can email people a blast several times, because I called and talked to the engineers because of my IT background. And I said, can't it just pop out an email? Like, yeah, you have to plug it in to the record for the animal. Email address for me. I'm interested after this date. Send them an email. But that is not even thought of there. So it blows my mind about when you say world-class shelter system. That's one tad of how it functions when you have a huge software package.
But this is bordering on criminal activity, man.
Well, I'd say it's derelict of duty.
Yeah, well, it's totally incompetent. But when you're talking about to somebody like Paula, who spends her days, every day of her life, and her groups around the nation, trying to live and die by getting dogs adopted.
Yeah.
That's all that Paula, what do you say? You have to listen to this.
I heard that.
Yeah, we heard
was
that.
Was that a cough?
That's Kane.
Let's see Kane. Hold him up to the camera. Let's see him.
Come on, come on,
It'd be
come
funny
on,
if it was a Saint Bernard.
Yeah. Knock over a chair.
come on, come on,
Oh,
Kane.
now
Any
you-
other time he would be up here.
Right.
We'll encourage
Well,
him later.
Paula, what do you think? I mean, listening to this from a total outsider and hearing all of it for the first time.
Well, I have something to say. I think that the reservists could fill in at night as part of their volunteer time. I also think the reservists could fill in and help get emails out, make phone calls to help
Yeah.
people be aware that the dog has become available instead of letting them sit in the shelter and be killed. That's my opinion. 2 cents, whatever.
So isn't it obvious, Paula?
Yeah, it's really, it's
Isn't
really,
it just
Paula,
an obvious thing?
what about the chameleon thing, Paula?
That would be great if every shelter could install that and use that. But Foster, you have to remember across the country, there are so many small, tiny shelters that operate kind of like us with no budget. And, for them, unless there was some sort of program to get them the software and help with training and installation, it's not going to help them. But, we could do the trickle effect, start with the bigger ones and work down. There's just not enough boots on the ground, like you say, to save these dogs at the rate that they're coming into shelters.
But when you got an organization like Los Angeles, in a city like Los Angeles, there's no shortage of.
There's 3.4 million people here. We can't
Right.
find 50 reserve officers?
Right. See,
course
there's,
we can.
there's. I mean, I know.
A sustainable
I know,
50.
Right. I
Yeah.
know a slew of people right now, myself, who would just volunteer just to help the animals. Period.
Yeah.
Much less if there was
Right.
any kind of end goal. Any kind of organization, any sort of structure set up where they could actually see change.
and if you were welcome. Because
Yes.
one of the problems
Very
is
important.
volunteers want to feel welcome when they go into a shelter.
Right.
They don't want to be opposed by, not all staff, we got
Right.
some good staff, by
Right.
some staff,
Right.
and made to feel
Good old boys.
less.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a strange thing. Like, employees don't want the shelter to look bad because
Right.
they feel like they're going to lose salary or income or something. The money's going to get taken away.
They should.
Well,
They should lose money.
well,
They should lose their income. If you're not doing your job,
Well,
you shouldn't get paid.
But Paula, they're civil servants in the city of Los Angeles. If you're a civil servant, to get you to lose your job, you got to die. That's how you lose your job. You die.
Right.
Otherwise, you get transferred to another place. But
No.
it's very, very harsh, like pulling ticks out of a long-haired dog. It's impossible to get a civil servant out if they're not doing the job, and then you have to prove the fact they're not doing the job. And this takes. Look, if you have a staff member that loves, let's say, and this is, in 1 or 2 cases possibly, you have a staff person who loves to kill. And gives you a hard time as a volunteer, and you say, look, I'm trying to save this dog, or a rescue, I want to save this dog. And the staff person says, I don't like your attitude, and when you come to pick up that animal has been put down. And they stand back and gloat. And that's not all the case all the time, obviously. It would be unbelievable, unlivable. But it has happened, and it happened recently. They're frightened. Yeah. Everyone is frightened at that department, even right up to the city attorney's office. Don't mention my name. Don't say I told you this. And if you talk to a rescuer, they say, don't mention my name. This is what happened today. I said, well, how can I verify that happened, which is a violation of city rules? Well, don't mention my name because they'll take it out on me. If I spoke to a member of staff, I had 4 or 5 members of staff to meet with the mayor's office last year with the deputy, and they told some real horror stories about reprisal to staff that tried to do the work, that tried to save animals. And the reprisal is called freeway therapy. So if you live in the valley, and somebody, your supervisor, finds out that you spoke out about something, or about some a fractious thing that took place at the shelter, or somebody abused an animal that worked at the shelter, and it comes back to you, you are now told that you have to be transferred to downtown Los Angeles, to South Central and North Central. So now you got to travel
Or to
all
South
the
Bay or something.
South Bay early in the morning, come back all the way late at night. That's called freeway therapy.
It's therapy because
That's-
you sit in traffic for so long. All the self-help DVDs that you put in your...
Nobody should be treated that way.
Yeah.
Nobody. You should have an open shelter. You should have the ability to say, this is wrong, this is going wrong, this program doesn't work, or this something is happening, and then not be frightened if you're a volunteer of being terminated.
So, okay.
Rock. Phone.
So,
I think-
so you hear a point about another thing about a world-class shelter? It has to foster collaborative work. People need to feel like when you go, I'm a volunteer, I'm part of something. I'm giving you my time.
Right.
I don't want to come into an adversary, atmosphere. I want to feel like what I'm doing makes a difference.
Exactly.
And you need to know how to support your volunteer staff to keep them coming, because we know that volunteerism is now down at our shelters.
It's down,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
That's hard work, by the way. You're cleaning up dog poop,
yeah.
and cat poop, and you're making sure there's kitty litter, and then you have sick, and you love animals, and you have a sick kitten or a sick puppy, and you go, okay, I got to get this to the vet. The vet says we're not prepared to take this right now. Well, now wait a minute. This is a sick animal, and you point it out to other people, and they say, get a life. It's very, very hard to work under those circumstances.
It's a
Absolutely.
tough job working at the
And
shelter.
then
It is.
how-
It's very emotional.
yeah. How? So, what do you guys hope to accomplish with the protest? Best case scenario, you guys outside and Garcetti's coming home from church, and his kid says, "Dad, why don't you listen to these people?"
Oh, who are all these people?
Yeah, and
Well-
he comes out and says, "Okay, what can I do better?"
No, he's not going to come out. He's going
Right.
to stay in his house.
Exactly.
What we want him to do is we want him to call up Mrs. Barnett, who he reappointed and gave a raise to, and say, "What the hell? Who the hell are these people at my front door?
Right.
What do they want? What
Right.
are they bothering
Where's
me
the
for?
problem? Yeah.
What's the problem?" Now she's going to lie, which she has done to the city council and to him. And if he listens, he's a fool, because we're going to come back the following weekend, and we'll come back with 200 people. Then
Okay,
we'll come back with 300 people.
So as you were saying, these these civil servants or whatever, right? They're hard to get rid of. Can this woman be replaced? It sounds
Yes,
to
she's
me.
not a civil servant.
But-
He's the only one that can hire and
and
fire.
fire her.
He's the
Okay.
only one. can
Well,
do that.
it sounds to me that the whole system needs to be restructured.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's broken.
Yeah.
It's not that necessarily that it's broken. Things don't work.
right.
Okay.
Man, it's common
Because
sense. It's not a common sense approach, though.
Yeah, but because it's not basing itself upon something, you can't say it's broken because you don't have no reference.
right.
So what we need to do is establish the
There's no
culture around
plan.
the shelter system. Yeah.
There's no
Is
plan.
that a
There's
call
no
from
goal.
us, Frau?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Maybe it's my mother. Better
Let's see.
but it's-
Hello, who's on the phone?
Got a donation?
Hello? Hello, who's on the phone?
Yes, I'm trying to listen to the Foster Cantor show.
Okay, well, you're close. Foster, who's calling? Who is this?
Oh, hi, Foster. My name actually is Marge Fithian, and I am on the East Coast, and I am friends with Frank Pendarvis.
Okay, Frank Pendarvis in Vegas. Okay,
Yeah.
and where are you located? You in what?
I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you're not calling about this particular topic that we're talking about?
I
or are you?
am.
Oh,
I
okay.
am.
Then go right
I
ahead.
kind of want to give you my story.
Give us your story, baby.
Okay. In 2010, I've always been involved with animal rescue, but in 2010,
Uh-huh.
Chihuahuas were sent out from the West Coast because their intake is 50 to 70% in shelters in LA.
That's right.
They were sent out to New York City via promotion with Virgin Airlines and the ASPCA in New York,
Uh-huh.
and hundreds of people waited in line for the Chihuahuas. And they're killing them at epidemic rates in LA across the West. So my idea was I funded my own program with my own money, and I found in stationary no-kill shelter because I wanted everything transparent going from one shelter to another. And I was working with the interim director at the time in LA City, Kathy Davis.
Yeah, Kathy
And
Davis, right. That's
she
right.
got me. she got me going. And then when Brenda Barnett came in, I could no longer fly any dogs.
That's right.
And I just want it to be known that I worked 8 months with a journalist, Chris Mayer from the Wall Street Journal, and got a Crime A-section article on the plight of the L.A. Chihuahuas.
Huh.
I'll have to read it.
And, yeah, you'll have to read it. And it was never even promoted through Brenda Barnett.
Wow. Is that right? So she basically cut off a program that you were funding with your own money to save dogs' lives.
Yeah, she would not work
That's
with
amazing.
me. When I called, I have emails, I have
That's
everything,
fucking
and
We
she
should do a
just
video with
wouldn't.
you.
She wouldn't work with me, so then I had to move over to LA County, and then everything became like a mess because Best Friends Animal is involved, and I just couldn't get the dogs out. But I had a program that was actually, what they would do is I'd fly them into stationary shelter, no-kill shelters. I do press releases every time the dogs went out to make sure that people were aware that there's an overabundance in the West and that in certain areas and states in the United States, there is an undersupply of small dogs to cut off the chain of people going to pet stores. So what I would do is I funded it, and I would ask the shelters to give back a portion of the adoption fee so we could fly the next group of dogs out. And it was working perfectly. So that is an answer, and it is something that I was doing a program that I ran basically foster self-sufficient with no fundraising once I put the original seed money up.
Right. Right.
Well, thank you for doing that. That's a huge contribution. That's amazing work that you did. I'm sorry that you had such a bad experience out here in LA. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, and what reason did she give you for cutting off that program?
She just didn't want anything to do with it. I got her on the phone. I had to chase her. I think it was like months and months of trying to call her and calling her underlings and everything. And finally, I got her on the phone. I was like, I don't know why she won't talk to me. I'm someone here that, I'm investing my own money. I'm a lone citizen. I'm like one person, one entity. And she got on the phone. She's like, I don't even know about this program. I'm like, how can you not know about this program? So during that time, she had fired there was a lot of people there was a lot of division in there. There were some managers that I had been working with that were
Suspended?
actually.
Were they the ones suspended?
Yes, with the Pizzagate.
Pizzagate,
Yeah, you watched our
Pizzagate.
video? Pizzagate.
Pizzagate, yes. Wow. I remember Pizzagate.
Pizzagate, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I had I forget her name, Monica maybe, and she was a really nice girl, and she would get the dogs, pick them out. I never wanted to see them, like just pick out because they had to be, hardy to fly, and so it was safe. And we were flying at the time. I would use American Airlines, and
Can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
So let me get really clear on this. So what you're saying is that you had a relationship with LA Animal Services working with Kathy Davis, where you would fly out animals from LA, working
Correct.
with American Airlines,
Correct.
that they paid for the cost?
I paid for the cost.
You paid for the flights from the, okay.
I paid for the flight.
And then you brought how many animals a month
I
or so?
brought probably about 7 flights. They were going to Knox County Humane in Bangor. And then from there, when Kathy was there.
And
And then after that, I added on probably 3 other shelters. But it was a lot of work locating shelters to take the dogs.
And did you know that the animals weren't euthanized at those shelters?
Never. These are completely more small town.
Okay.
They had wait lists.
Okay.
This is what was so
Oh, I
sad.
got
When
you.
the dogs came in, they would let them decompress after the flight,
Right.
make sure everything was okay, and
Right.
then they had wait lists for them.
Okay.
And I think that's what's so heartbreaking. So all these dogs. And then they would do all the background checks, et cetera. That's why I didn't want to work through, no offense with rescues, but when you're moving dogs across country, you have to keep it very copacetic.
Now you say they
and
did
transparent.
background. You say they did background checks, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting thing. We have best friends here in Los Angeles, and they pulled about 11, I think something like 6,000 dogs last year, dogs and cats last year, they don't do background checks with their 60
No, I
some odd
stopped
million
working
dollars.
with Best Friends because of that.
They
What
won't do-
happened
yeah.
is Best Friends contacted me and said, because of their Pup My Ride, and they're like, and I have emails to back up everything I'm saying, and they're like, we need shelter space. We would never want to displace your program in any way, but we'd like to use your shelter space. So I'm thinking, okay, let's make this bigger. So basically, they had all my shelters sign placement contracts and
They
took them
stepped in.
away. And one in particular, I don't want to mention. I just didn't care how they were dispersing the dogs, and I tried to bring it to their attention, and it was just That's when my program ended, because they basically took control of my. They're not my shelters, but they were my hard-earned contacts.
See what they do. The problem is that it's a huge organization, and that's not to say they don't do good at one level, but at the other level is if you're going to be pulling these animals out of LA shelter, and you're going to find homes for them, you don't just give them away. They have
No,
giveaways.
they were shoving them out
They have
to
giveaways.
bring down the totals for LA no kill, and I wanted
Yeah.
no part of that.
Right.
I
There's no
wanted
such thing
part
as
of-
there's no such thing. This NKLA doesn't really exist.
Now,
No.
That's what I wanted to go.
Here's
go
something
to.
very
Go
pragmatic.
ahead.
This is very important. This is very important. This is why metrics don't necessarily tell you the whole story and why you can't rely on metrics.
on stats.
Because now it looks like, wow, we have no kill in LA.
Right.
But that doesn't handle the problem of all the stray dogs and all the animal abuse cases and no reach into the community to talk to people about that, right? You
Right.
think you're doing a great job. Well, sure, we can take all our problem animals, ship them out of state, and what's the story? Don't tell me any bad news?
Yeah, don't bring me no bad
Don't
news.
give me no bad news,
Right.
right? But that's like a big Band-Aid. That's a false
No, that's
way.
why I didn't want to.
Right.
My program, and if you Google my name, I'll give it to you. It's Marge
Okay.
Fithian, F as in Frank, I-T-H-I-A, N as in Nancy, and just Google it with my name and Chihuahuas, and you'll see my media. I made sure that I did press release every time these dogs flew out, and that's when the Wall Street Journal contacted me. They contacted me, and they said, we find this of interest. I mean, I'm not even a Republican, but I was like, I'll take the press, and I worked 8 months with the journalists. And LA County, we couldn't get stats that were accurate,
Well,
to what I knew they were.
Right. Well, Marge,
But they did a chart in there. You'll see it.
this is
Great. I wanna
this
see
is
this.
really, really, really interesting. I want you to hold on and stay on the
Okay.
line because these guys are gonna have some questions and more stuff for you. But I need to. We're hour in, and I need to take a break to
No problem.
save some dogs here with Paula Archer that we do have right now that we can find some homes for.
Good.
Rocker, you got the dogs Paula has. Okay, Paula, you ready?
You bet.
All right, well, let's do this first segment of dogs, and then we'll be right back with the guest in the studio and the phone. All right.
Thank you.
You guys got it.
Okay, you ready, Rock? All right, first up today, this is Murdoch. I want to bring your attention to this very, very special dog. A dog that has been a resident of the Hampstead shelter since July 2014. Murdoch needs a home. He is a dog fighting ring survivor. Murdoch loves people. Murdoch loves toys. He loves walks on leashes, and he is a love, a mush, a kisser, and a cuddler, and everything that you would want from a furry best friend. And even though Murdoch needs to be a solo dog, he will strive to make you his own. Now we have Cookie. Today I want to introduce you to a very special girl. She came to the shelter last August after her owner left town and put Cookie out on the streets to fend for herself. When she first arrived, she was skinny, showed evidence of being overbred, and she was terrified. She was so afraid, alone, and scared that she shut down. She finally came around thanks to the help of some dedicated staff members. Now she spends her days in the calm of the office. She gets to hang out around the coffee pot, I guess. Cookie is completely house trained. She's calm and quiet. She loves her crate. She loves going for car rides. She walks nicely on a leash, and she does respond to several commands. Now we have Simba. Simba is our new resident who quickly won over everyone's heart. This three-year-old boy came to us skinny and as a stray. Simba walks great on a leash, is friendly, with everyone, and he is social and he is sweet with other dogs. Simba is calm, low-key, and seems house-trained also. That's always a plus. We are telling you this boy is a love. He enjoys the company of his human, and he would make an amazing companion. To know Simba is to love Simba. So if you are an adult home with another dog, but no cats, Simba is your boy. Now we have Parmalee. A pocket pitty, and she is so cute. Parmalee is 2 years old, and she's a tiny 31 pounds. She's so small, it's ridiculous, and adorable. This sweet and friendly with people dog enjoys playing in the yard, walks on a leash, and Parmalee is available to an experienced home. Do you have what it takes to be her new mommy and daddy? Now we have Shelby. Shelby was one of the most heartbreaking intake stories ever of the homeless pets that I'm featuring today. This sweet girl once had a home until her owner left town and left Shelby tied up outside with no food, no water, no shelter. After 2 weeks, with no owner in sight, a concerned citizen called and Shelby was rescued from those circumstances. Besides Shelby's incredible good looks, she is a total mush. She loves to cuddle, loves to kiss, and she thinks she's a lap dog. Shelby loves to play with toys, and she is very social with other dogs. She is an all-around fantastic girl. Now we have Apple. Apple is a 4.5-year-old gorgeous baby girl. Apple first came to the shelter in September 2013. Yes, 2013. She was underweight, missing hair, and had fly bites all over her body, making it evident that she spent most, if not all, of her life outside. She loves to play in the yard and chase balls. She's really a fast runner, and she knows how to have a good time. She has lots of energy, but she also loves a good snuggle. She loves to cuddle in bed. She gives hugs, and she even thinks that she's a lap dog. Apple would prefer to be an only child in her new home. Now we have Thelma. Thelma was picked up as a stray in August of 2014. Thelma is approximately 2.5 years old. She's around 55 pounds. And don't you think that she isn't just downright gorgeous? When she first came into the shelter, she was very scared and unsure of herself.